On to another guy, Eloy Jiménez, who you spoke about a little bit. And they acquire him in that same trade as Dylan Cease. He's clearly an important part of this team. He's struggling to stay on the field at times, but when he is in the lineup, his bat is clearly very, very important to this team. So I know he just got injured on Wednesday. Talk a little bit about an update there and what he does mean to the team when he's in the lineup.
After the game, Tony La Russa told us in Cleveland that, Eloy was probably going to get a couple of days off. They didn't think he'd re-injured himself. He hurt himself, what looked like season ending, just the way he reacted and the way we saw him just trying to move the next day in Minnesota, trying to sit down, trying to maneuver. We thought, well, this is, really more bad news for this poor kid. But he had the surgery. I believe it was a tendon behind his right knee there. And he had that repaired. And he came back. He fought his way back. He's in very good shape, and then hurt himself last night. They didn't specify where it was. But, yeah, if you don't want to – I understand that sometimes you say the phrase injury prone and it has a bad connotation. He's not working to stay on the field. The kid works his tail off. But the bottom line is he has been hurt a decent amount, over the last few years, and you can't deny it. I'm not, spinning my own take on this. That's the facts in front of it. He hurt himself last year. He hurt himself this year. And when he's on his game, like he was the first month when he came back last year, one of the, true pure power hitters in the game. And, Frank Menachino, their hitting coach, has talked about that if he's on hitting on everything that he's supposed to be doing, he can be a 300 hitter too. But, the Sox have been a very low home run output team this year. And they need a guy like that in the lineup, but they need him to stay healthy more than anything else, just like the rest of this team.
Yeah, there's a lot of stars on this White Sox team, but a guy for me that has flown a little under the radar this year is former number 3 overall pick, Andrew Vaughn. And he has been really good this year. And it seems like he has just taken a step to becoming a force on this White Sox team that is full of stars. He's kind of flying under the radar, but talk about how he's been able to put together the year he has so far. He's been really good.
Yeah, think about what he went through last year, and I don't mean went through, but had to do. So last year, Eloy hurt himself in the last week of spring training, jumping for a ball that was a little bit over the fence at Camelback Ranch, and he tore his bicep tendons, bicep tendon in his left arm, and had to have surgery. So Andrew Vaughn, who only had played the outfield at the alternate site in Schaumburg the year before during the pandemic season, then had to learn the outfield on the fly and became the left fielder, and still had a great year. And then he had a really rough final month where I think he kind of hit. I interviewed him, not too long ago. We were in Boston, and he talked about that he really did feel exhausted by the end. Not just playing the full season, but also he had never played the outfield before. He had never run around like that, chasing, fly balls, line drives, ground balls, whatever. And I think he learned from that, and he learned a little bit more about what it takes to get through his season. I mean, he's so young. This is really his second full season in baseball, right? And just a really good hitter. Like, should be one of those guys when he gets into his prime, and he's pretty close to it now, but I mean, really gets the experience under him. 300, 20 to 25, 100 every year. And an on-base guy, too. Good batting eye. I think ultimately probably first base or DH is his spot. But, man, he even started at second base last year for Kansas City. I'm sorry, in Kansas City for the White Sox. White Sox aren't giving him up to Kansas City. So, I mean, he's taking ground balls at third. He can play a little bit ever, but I think, if push comes to shove, it'd be first base or DH. And right now they have a pretty good player over at first base in Jose Abreu.
Yeah, he is pretty good. So I have to ask you, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, ask you anything and make you tell me an answer, but this White Sox team, it's no secret, it is a fact. They are underperforming this year, and they are under 500 and hopefully going to turn it around, but there have been and continue to be lots of rumbles about Tony La Russa and his job and whether it is secure, whether he's gone, whatever it may be. Where does that stand? Is he going to be the manager for the White Sox throughout the year, or is the seat hot and he's got to figure it out right now?
I would be stunned if he doesn't manage the rest of the season out. And I think if he doesn't, it's probably his call that he, wants to walk away. And that does not strike me as something Tony La Russa would do from the 2 years I've gotten to know him better. Mm-hmm. And I barely really knew him. I maybe interviewed him 2 or 3 times before he came back to the Sox. But I just interviewed him when the team was in Anaheim, asked him if he was having fun, and he gave me a defiant hell yeah, a little Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin there. But he was he's still enjoying himself. Now, granted, it's tough, and I think one of the things that people talk about is lack of energy, lack of urgency. But as you know, when a team is not hitting, and for most of the season, this team is not hit to the level that people are used to. Yeah, it looks like, there's no energy. But it's just you're not manifesting anything on the base pass, right? Yeah. You're not getting anything going. So it's hard to have kind of energy on that. And people complain about, bad defense or fundamental mistakes. But I think you can probably attest to this too. It's not really a teaching league unless you're going through a rebuild where you have nothing but really young players. I think
that's what the minor leagues is for. You don't see it much at the big league level.
Jose Abreu and Yasmani Grandal. Yeah, I mean, they I'm just picking a couple like really accomplished veterans. They rely on coaches to talk to them and say, well, we see this and this could be better. But I don't think they need to be taught things. They just need to do them, right? So I think the manager is important in kind of setting the tone and kind of, running the feel of the team. But I think it's really a players' league. The players have got to play. And I really believe now, again, if we talk and they go 0-4 Minnesota, I mean, that's going to be a little different look then. They're going to be 9 games out of first with 70 games left in the second half. So I still think, though, he's there. He has one more year after this year. But I would be stunned, absolutely stunned. And you can have me back on, and I would cop to it if he's not there throughout the 2022 season.
Okay. Last one for you before I let you go. Sure. We are a few weeks away, a month away from the trade deadline. This team that is underperforming to this point. What is the plan there? Is it kind of we're going to wait last possible second and see? Are they going to be buyers? Is there a world in which the Chicago White Sox are sellers? What's the plan around the trade deadline?
Well, they're in this stretch of 19 straight games against the AL Central. They've done, about 500 baseball, a little below, I think. And they have 4 in Minnesota. They have the All-Star break, and then 4 at home against Cleveland with a doubleheader on that Saturday. And then they go to Colorado for 2. So I think you'll know a little more then. But here's the thing with this team all year. Now, unless they, go one way or the other, but this team has been just good enough not to be great this year.
Yeah.
So every time you say, they've won 2 against Cleveland, and we're pretty impressive in doing so, some hard-fought wins, you're like, okay, maybe this is the turning point. But we've had 7 of those, and they haven't happened. They've won 4 in a row or 3 in a row, but there's no 10 of 12 or 15 of 20. But with saying that, Kenny Williams, who's the executive vice president, and Rick Hahn, who's the GM, and of course Jerry Reinsdorf, who's the owner, the chairman, they want to win, and they know this is the window to win, and they know if they get in, they have a starting staff and they have a bullpen that can make some noise in the postseason. I don't know where that maybe second base, although Josh Harrison has played very well. Maybe right field, they need another left-handed bat would help. Always can add bullpen to help out, to bolster the team. But, they have a pretty good roster as it is, so there's not a lot of moves to make. I would be equally stunned to see them be sellers. I mean, if somehow it fell off where they got 9, 10, 11 games back, you might see a veteran or 2 move, but I don't think anyone who has, extended contractual control is going to move off this team in season.
Okay. Well, Scott, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. Bringing you back at some point to talk some more White Sox. Thanks again for joining me.
Be happy. Thanks for having me, Ben. I enjoyed it.
Of course. See ya.
Thanks for watching. If you love flipping bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.